What's up, guys? Before we begin here, I just want to quickly remind you that the Crunchy Take podcast is available on Spotify, YouTube, Radio Public, Google Podcasts, and now Apple Podcasts. So if you like what you hear, please consider subscribing or following to hear these episodes as soon as they air. I want to thank you for stopping by and enjoy the podcast. What's up, y'all? This is James Kittipo, and you are listening to the Crunchy Take podcast. Did you watch UFC 251? Where were you, and when did you watch it? Did you have to get up in the wee hours of the morning to watch every single fight? Well, I know someone who did, and someone who has been doing so for the past few years. Joining me all the way from Bangkok, Thailand, the man himself, and one of the most devoted UFC fans I know, Naim Wongpiya. How's it going, my brother?
All good in the hood, bro. Miss you so much, bro, but we are here.
So Naim, as I mentioned before, is very, very devoted fight fan. But before we get into the fight stuff, Naim, can you kind of describe your occupation to us and what it is you do? And
I'm working at a tech company. It's called AnyMind Group. So basically, we just focus on the tech side of things, right? We're actually in 4 industries. So we're in the direct consumer industry, HR industry, digital marketing industry, and also the influencer industry. But basically, I just work at a tech firm, and I take care of mainly the corporate planning side. So things such as like setting the KPI strategy, structure of the business, and then I also take care of 2 external projects, which is digital out of home and also e-commerce for businesses. So yep, in a nutshell, that's currently where I'm at right now.
You give a brief introduction into that world, but for someone who isn't into that world, well, what would you say it's like? If you could give me 2 things, what's the most frustrating part of your job? And then at the same time, what is the most gratifying part of your job?
I wouldn't say this is like industry specific or company specific, but I guess one of the most annoying things that sometimes I face in my work is that I just hate it when people use their emotion at work instead of trying to logically or objectively try to solve problems or find new solutions. But I guess there's not much things that annoy me. I guess, try to find ways to work around it. The most gratifying thing or positive thing, I would say that I'm pretty lucky that the company I work in, they don't give a shit about your age, right? If you perform, if you deliver results, they're not afraid to promote you and give you new challenges, new opportunities at the workplace. So I guess that's one of the more positive things I would appreciate is that they don't give a shit about your age. If you can do the job, if you have, balls to speak and give suggestions that they'll give you. It's fair game. Yeah.
Naim, so you also have a business. You have a side business. It's called Bomb Ass Coffee. And it was so popular that other podcasts and other businesses were giving you shout outs and you didn't even pay them for it. What's up with this, man? Like how did you come across this? What's the inception of this?
Hey man.
Shout out to the Thoughts and Prayers.
Shout out to my boys on the Thoughts and Prayers podcast. My boy Poom, my boy Jinsu, and my boy Preeti. But anyways, yeah, thanks to them for the shout out for my my coffee business. But yeah, I think it was like during COVID, you're just like stuck at home, you're bored. Luckily, I didn't get any salary deduction. They're still paying me my my normal paycheck, so that's nice. But I just wanted to find new ways to get some more revenue streams from just being at home. You just like so filled with time, But my dad already drinks coffee, right? So he orders this like batch of coffee beans, and then I just like watched on YouTube and I saw like cold brewing, right? So I was like, yeah, let's try that out. So I started trying to cold brew his coffee beans, and then I was like, damn, cold brew actually tastes a lot better than iced coffee, man. Because when you do cold brew, like you get like less acidity, right? Because it takes time for the coffee to like brew through the cold water and stuff, and it tastes a lot smoother than just iced coffee. So that's how I started, and then I don't know, man. I just thought it tastes really good, so I just thought it was a product that other people would like. And then it's one of the businesses that is like it's super lean, right? There's very low investment. All I need is just a coffee grinder, coffee beans, and a big ass jar, right? Because if I have a big jar, I could just, put the grinded coffee, pour in some water,
Mm-hmm.
let it brew for 24 hours, and then bam, you have
Mm-hmm.
the product. And then the rest is just, designing the logo as I like it, as I named it. Just ordering some plastic bottles, cost like 1.5 baht per bottle, so that's not too expensive. Basically, I just did a Google search, so I just searched in Thai โรงงานผ
Mm-hmm.
ลิตขวดพลาสติก
Okay.
and then I just looked through all the websites. I chose like the volume amount that I wanted.
Yeah.
And then I just compared the prices, saw which company, provided the lower pricing, most efficient, and then I
Mm-hmm.
ordered some. But if you include all the delivery costs, it's around like 3 baht per model. Yeah, delivery fee was
Yeah.
around like 30-40% of the total cost, but that's because I ordered a small batch. So then yeah, I just bottled it up, sold it to mostly my friends, some of my parents' friends, my cousins, and that's how you have it, bro.
Okay. So with
Yeah.
with this side business, right? I mean, it's
Hmm,
something that has
hmm.
only been around for a little bit for you. Have you learned anything
Yep.
else about business or like marketing strategy ever since starting it? Because whenever you do your own thing, it's like wow,
Hmm.
there's a bunch of things that come to mind that you maybe didn't
Yeah.
know while you were working under somebody else. So you're your own boss,
Yeah.
bomb ass. What are some of the things you've picked up since starting the business?
I wouldn't say the learning curve or like there's quite new things I've learned. Mainly it's just, managing
Mm-hmm.
the orders and the demand of the supply and stuff. But I think I just did this just to like probably earn some like extra income and stuff. And like most of the people I've sold it to was just like my personal friends or like friends of friends and stuff.
Sure.
So I have actually haven't like scaled it to the point where I just want to like go mass and go commercial because I mean if I were to do that, I probably like have to change the name, right? Because most Thai mass consumers wouldn't like understand bomb ass or wouldn't be attracted to bomb ass, and I would have to like do like the Thai captions, Thai oriented local content and stuff. So I don't plan to as of now because I still have my current full-time job taking a lot of my commitment and my time. But yeah, so I just thought of a name and a logo that I just thought was funny and fits me. So
Whenever you set out on a new endeavor, there's always stuff you learn. Like for me, man, I learned, and I will say this to pretty much everyone, I learned more in 6 months being a manager of a coffee shop than I
yep,
did in 6 years of college. I'll say that flat out, and we like you could probably say it's the same thing working for your
yes,
firm. Just like it's
yes,
it's just you
yes,
learn so much more by
yes,
actually doing the product. It almost to the point where I think, man, if I'd have just I don't know if I'd have quit school, but like if I'd have gone to a trade school, if because America, a lot of American colleges they act on. You've probably heard the term liberal arts college, right? So like
yeah,
they value holistically the educational side, which is cool, but one very job oriented. Like in America, it's more individualistic. Where they kick you like if you're wanting to hunt out internships, that's on you. Like your
mm.
professors, they might hook you up, but like um one last question before we get into the fight was in did you feel like your college and your college program prepared you adequately for what you're doing now, or did you have to go considerably out of your own way to make it work?
I think my college or university prepared me quite well to
Mm-hmm.
enter the real world, but I don't think there's any type of university type education that can actually prepare you for the real world. I mean, I'm not like saying, I think my college is, quite good in terms of like preparation, dedication,
Mm-hmm.
curriculum and stuff. They have a lot of, business cases for us to do. But I don't think there's any type of formal or class education that can actually replace the experience you get working in an actual firm or a company because it's a totally different beast, right? Like, when I was doing my first year at Any Mind Group, I was doing sales as my first year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I had my first client, when I was like presenting and stuff, it I mean, at first when I anticipated, I thought it was gonna be like similar to presenting like a business case in front of the classroom. You learn stuff like this firsthand, and it's something you can't learn in college. And when I started to present, I just felt like it was like a bit of like a one-way communication, and it didn't feel natural. And then after my first meeting, I just realized like, damn, this is not like in front of the classroom presentation. It's actually, you're trying to sell some shit to the customer. You have to convince them. You have to make them give a shit about your product, and it's just totally a different beast. I just had to learn that outside of the classroom. I don't think it's something you can learn in the classroom.
The reason I ask again is because there are people. I get a few people who ask me, because it is 2020. People had just graduated from high school, and it's the point of their. I mean, we were very doubtful, right, going into college. 2013, if you remember how you were feeling right after graduation, it's like that big gaping thing of uncertainty. Well, now, like, can you imagine what the seniors are going through now with like COVID and the fact that, I may not be able to even travel to where I want to go, but I just want to encourage anybody who's listening. It's like, okay, like you still have the option to do what you want. Just go for it, do it and then learn it from a professional sense.
Bro, you've actually like made me put myself in the shoes of the graduating class of the seniors. Like I never thought of because I studied in Thailand, right? So
yeah,
if COVID were to hit, it wouldn't impact me as much as other people that would have gone to study abroad. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it still would have had a significant impact, like just because I mean in Thailand at least, it spiked pretty hard at first, but it seems like you guys mediated it pretty well, right? You guys have, everyone wears masks. No one has a problem really wearing masks. It's
Well, I can talk about this topic all day, man. Like,
assuming everything your family's fine and everything. There's
we all good.
Good. Every day is a blessing in that regard. I call home my dad. Just making sure he's fine. But Naim, let's do what we came here for.
Let's do it, bro.
Let's get to it.
I have my other Google Chrome tab open. Yeah, so whenever you're talking about like UFC events or anything, I have like this reference.
My man's prepared. But before we even get to that, for context, I grew up with you. I went to school with you in elementary school, high school, middle school, and when I initially asked you to come on the podcast, I'm like, okay, what are some subjects that would get Naim like his gears rolling? Because I know he already wants to talk about fight, but Naim, and I was thinking about this, like, well, how on earth? When did he become a UFC fan? Because there was a stretch in your formative schooling years. Did you in high school? It seemed like it was pretty much all basketball, like it did straight away. But I remember like, oh wait, this shouldn't really come as a surprise to me. It's because in elementary school, what was the other thing you were talking about most whenever you weren't like being you to other people? It was the WWE, right?
Oh yeah, bro.
It was the WWE. I remember you specifically. I don't know if it was second grade or third grade. It must have been third grade, but like, or I don't know, somewhere in elementary school. The WWE came to Thailand. It was Eddie Guerrero, I think, rest in peace. And a bunch of stars that were watching for whatever reason a WWE fight in a movie theater.
Batista was the face at the time.
Yeah, and Dave Bautista, right? And then you somehow got a ticket to go watch it with him. And like,
yes, bro, your memory is on point.
Yeah, can you describe that experience for us, by the way? Because I remember you talking, but you were definitely excited about it. And like, did they also have an event in Thailand as well? Did they have a full-on fight, like full-on like WrestleMania event?
No, I totally can't remember the actual fights at the WWE event, but I remember I was in third grade or fourth grade. I had to drag my parents with me, right? Because like you're in third grade, fourth grade, it's like super young. You just can't go alone by yourself. You don't even have a mobile phone, right? So yeah, bro, it was. I mean, like the theatrics and the event, the mechanics and stuff. It wasn't as as grand as in the States, but overall it was a bomb ass event. Shout out to my coffee band, but anyways, yeah, it was a bomb ass event. Yeah, that was once in a lifetime experience, man.
Interesting. Well, how? Okay, so why and how did you like it at that young of an age? Because people have video games. I was into Counter Strike. Violent video games at a very young age. It seemed like Thai parents were ill-equipped somewhat to handle how Western media would impact the youth of Thailand. But for you, you like Silent Hill. You like scary stuff, and you like the WWE. How does a young name why did that catch your attention at that age?
I didn't say I would like Silent Hill, bro. I was actually pretty scared of it. And
And
I
you
was actually
bragged,
scared of all scary movies, though.
you definitely bragged about it at school. Yeah, I went to see Silent Hill, and all the kids were like, "Oh wow."
Bro, bro, to be honest, I don't even remember that story, but I've never seen Silent Hill in my life, so I don't know what my third grade, fourth grade myself was like bragging about, but that was probably all bullshit, bro. I've never watched Silent Hill in my life.
I just remember, well, because
So
there were posters for it all around the there was posters for it
yeah,
all
yeah, yeah.
around
It
the
was pretty damn
city.
scary, bro. It was like this little girl without the nose or something. You remember?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for the record, I've never watched that movie, so I was probably just, kind of echoing,
Well,
bragging shit.
Gullible
So
James, young Gullible James bought it. I was like, man,
I impressed you, right, bro?
he was
I
hard.
flexed on you, bro. That was successful, yeah.
Yeah, success. But WWE, like, why? How did it catch your attention? Like, how? Why were you so drawn to it at that time?
I don't know, man. I think most kids are actually drawn to the WWE, right?
I don't.
At that age. Not
I
you?
don't know. No. Me, it was like I watched it in a passing. I don't know what channel it appeared on, but was it Star Sports? I don't know. Back in the day, where it would come on, you'd have this weird fascination about it. But you go that extra step. When I say fan, when I say following, you know names. I know names now, but back then you were talking all these different names. I had no. You and it was another kid, Byung Woo. You were like, oh, Goldberg. Like, who the heck is Goldberg or the
Bro,
Undertaker?
if if my memory is correct, I think I actually went to the WWE event with Byung Woo. I remember there was like a event, like it wasn't the actual event. I think the actual event was like Impact Mung Tong Tani or some shit. But the pre-event before the actual event, there was like a promotional thing that had to do like inside a theater where we like met Batista, kind of like in a meet and
Oh, so
greet
that's what
fan
you
kind of
went
thing.
to as well, right?
I went to that as well. Byung Woo was there for sure for the meet and greet shit, but the actual event, I'm not sure it was there. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
But you got to meet
But Byung Woo
Batista?
definitely. Yes.
Wow, what was that
I didn't
like?
actually meet him. No, we were actually in like a theater
Uh-huh.
and we were watching some of his old fights.
Cool.
And then there was this guy called, Nothing Hardcore. You know that guy?
No, I don't.
Okay,
What's going
basically
on
he's
here?
like
Give me context.
basically he's just like he's like a well-known commentator, especially for the WWE. He's just this Thai guy, but yeah, I just got to met him as well. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
What was the room like? Were people like going ham? Were people going absolutely crazy watching Batista with Batista in the
No,
room, or was it just like
no, no, no,
what was it
no.
like?
I remember like I think American fans and Thai fans are totally different, man. Like American,
Yeah.
but I think I think Thai fans are a bit more not Thai, but I think Asian people in general are just a bit more shy, a bit more conservative. So whenever like we were supposed to like say like like we didn't say it, so then the guy called like Nothing Hardcore, the Thai commentator, he would be like อ้าวเอาส่งเสียงให้เลือดหน่อยหรือส่งเสียงให้การทุ่มไปนี้หน่อย or some shit like that, you know? So he had to like hype us up, kind of like had to teach us how to actually respond to
Isn't
to the
that's
crowd, you know?
weird? That's weird to say. Do you think that's still a thing now, or do you think Thai audiences are still generically kind of shy? I
I don't think they're shy anymore, but I think they're just
mhm.
more like Korean. You know Korean, right?
Oh yeah. Well,
Korean, yeah. They're
I
just
definitely don't think they're shy anymore. I went to a Maroon 5 concert in 2011. Them girls, there were a lot of wet panties in that room. Let me tell you that.
whoa. Getting caught up in here, bro. Getting caught up in here.
Yeah, it's just interesting that you say that. Like they weren't, so they were receptive. They were very warm, but it's like I feel like over the years, as Western media has, or media in general, like world media, you can call it now, has impacted Thailand. You start to see more people open up. Like hip hop culture is bigger back home. Food
Yep,
culture has like elevated to a totally different degree. People are more expressive of what they,
totally.
yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, thinking about your background in watching fights. So it's like, man, how did Naim go from basketball? Like, cause I remember that was elementary school, and then throughout middle school and high school, I don't remember anything else you were into other than basketball. You may have been, but it's like, it's felt like the Celtics were, 2010, right? Freaking front and center, you and Anj versus me. It was a nightmare. Chemistry class was an interesting time.
Yeah.
And then the only time I flipped was I remember liking Rajon Rondo, and you guys gave me so much crap for that. It was like, oh wow, Rajon Rondo.
Why?
Who the Lakers have as a point guard? Steve Blake. Like who am I supposed to cheer for now? Like yeah. So in high school, it was I remember it was primarily basketball, but unbeknownst to me, was it anything else at the time? Were you into anything else besides basketball?
Nah.
No.
Nah.
So it was just ball. As far as sports, I'm like holistically sports. Just basketball.
Just basketball. Just basketball.
Yeah.
Just basketball. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to the Eagles. Me and Naim, we played for good old ICS basketball.
Varsity, baby.
Yeah, and just like again, like I had a weird dream the other day. Just like we were unable to finish out the season because of COVID-19. But then COVID-19 got healed, and we got. But then Naim, check this. We got a totally other like new season. So we played one season. We played another season. Like you were so happy. Zach was so happy in the dream. I was like, oh yes, because I'm better now. I might get more playing time. Then I woke up. I'm like, oh.
Bro, you just made me low key fucking sad, man. Like.
No, but think about it.
You like,
No, but think about it though. Sure, like, cause I screwed up in high school. Like junior year, I wasn't getting my grades on. That's why I couldn't play varsity junior year. But our story ends pretty well, all things considered. 3 championship games. We at least have closure. Remember, you were point guard. It's a fun time. But yeah, so like thinking about this whole thing. UFC. So when did that start? What were the first little seedlings and like when did the roots start to form for you?
The McGregor effect is real, to be honest. The Conor McGregor effect is real. I remember I started getting into it after I came back from exchange. Mm-hmm. When I did exchange in my 3rd year of university at Thammasat, I went to Canada, University of Ottawa. And then one of my Irish friends were like quite crazy about like Conor McGregor, right? Mm-hmm. So I started like searching him on YouTube, and then Conor McGregor is one of those MMA fighters that's like fucking entertaining, right? Like he trash talks the fuck out of his opponents, and he backs it up, right? He actually knocks his opponent out. I think that was like in 2016, 2017. So it was during when he was 2016 or 2017, I think it was when he won the 2nd belt against Eddie Alvarez. So I actually watched that.
That might have been a little earlier. That might have been okay. Yeah, I remember that fight too. Yeah.
Probably 16. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I watched it live, so that was my. Oh, actually, I watched my first Conor McGregor fight when it was McGregor versus Diaz too. Oh. But I illegally streamed it on YouTube. I was dumb as fuck because True Visions actually had it, free on satellite.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. You don't have to pay for a damn thing, don't you? Nope. Every pay-per-view is on national television for you?
Yes.
Oh
it's
my
because
God.
The Thai market isn't as into the sport of MMA as the United States, right? Because
how is that even possible? How is that even possible that a pay-per-view is nationally available for a country? How is that possible?
No, it's because in Thailand people aren't that into the UFC or MMA in general as the United States, right? But in the United States, They know that the sport is super popular, so they know that they can monetize this big event through people paying around like $50-$60 a piece per, the view. But in Thailand, you're still trying to build up the sport, so people won't pay like $50 to $60 for the sport. So that's why they have to do these big deals with these television companies. So they need to gain more exposure through free TV. And then once people watch the sport, once they get more attracted, then in the future, maybe 5 years, 10 years down the line, once people start getting attracted to the sport, then they might monetize it through the pay-per-view.
You know, I'm really, wow. So like, so you can rest easy. You just got to get up and watch, you know, because, man, yeah, because pay-per-views, you know, I understand it. You know, the American market, it's like, if it's a card like that, like, you know, you get a bunch of, what you do is you know, obviously you get a bunch of buddies, you split the bill, you bring food over.
Watch it together.
Yeah, like 5 or 6 dudes in the same room. Guess what? That's a fight night. Easy, you know.
But isn't that good though? Because you're kind of like forced to come together and watch it and stuff, right? Because you have to actually split the fee.
Yeah. It's been, but you know, I won't pretend to. I won't pretend to be goody two shoes here. Like there have been times where I've had to, good old Reddit, you know, and like screaming and whatnot. But so Eddie Alvarez. No, so Nate Diaz 2 was your first UFC fight that you watched live. That wasn't a highlight you got up for, or you were watching it live with people as it was happening.
No, I was just laying on my bed and I just was like, oh shit, there's a Conor McGregor fight. So I just searched on YouTube and found some illegal streams. So
interesting. My first full one was actually his first fight with Nate Diaz, which may not have been the best. Like for Conor, she was like, I watched this, like, oh man, this guy, he talks a lot of trash. You know, he was on Conan. He was like, oh, you know, your midsection is a breadbasket. I'm going to smash that breadbasket. I'm like, okay, cool. And then Nate Diaz, he just looked like that guy looked scary. He's man, that's a guy you would not want to cross. You wouldn't want to cross any of these guys, but Nate, he's just like that extra. I don't know what the hell's going on with him.
It's West Coast flair, right?
West Coast gangster. He's a gangster. He ain't a West Coast gangster. Yeah, but but on short notice, did what you have to do against a fighter like Conor. He just strangled him out. I was like, wow, you can do that in the UFC. No one's paying attention to this either. Like you have football, you have baseball, you have golf, and you have 2 people beating the shit out of each other. It's like, whoa, like just. You know, that whole, I think that kind of got to me, you know, because
McGregor effect, bro. The McGregor effect got you too, right?
Absolutely. No, and then, you know, my cousin, you know, Eric, I don't, if you listen to my podcast at all, he's shout out to Eric. He's been an avid fan for way longer than I have. He's been a huge wrestling fan too. I feel like there's a lot of crossover between the UFC fans and WWE fans, somewhat. It may not be me, may not be my particular crowd, but you know, I know like, yeah, you could say the WWE's fake, but it is very hard to do.
It's entertainment.
You know? It's entertainment, but the reason I think UFC is so crazy cool is because it's kind of the same premise as WWE, but the only difference is it's real. It's 100% like, sure, they might market their fights, you know, they might do a bunch of things to ham it up and like, but at the end of the day, it's 2 people locked into a cage. They're going to beat the crap out of each other, you know? So yeah, it's the McGregor effect. So you saying the McGregor effect brought you to fighting.
Yep. Yeah, man.
Anybody else besides Conor McGregor though, that kind of, do you have any other favorite fighter besides Conor that you?
Right now, right?
Yeah.
I like Israel Adesanya a lot.
Oof.
A lot. Because his striking is on point, right? And then I think his takedown defense is super underrated. And he just finds a way to win, man. Like, you know, people were like writing him off since when he came to the UFC. People are writing him off when he was fighting against Derek Brunson, which is, you know, kind of like more of a wrestler. Then he knocks Robert Whittaker out, and then people are like, oh shit, but Romero's a different beast, you know, he's gonna wrestle them.
Oh, don't get me started on that fight. I don't know what the hell that fight was, man. Were you watching? You were watching, right? Because you were, okay, that was right after, that was shortly after Romero and Costa. Wow. You know, that fight was insane. So you were expecting, you know, because Romero is hardly ever boring. He's very charismatic. He's very, I mean, he calls himself the soldier of God, and he's 41, and he looks like he's not from this world, dude. He looks like also looked like that at 41 would be pretty cool, right? But like, yeah, Romero, it's just the ultimate enigma. It felt like you were watching Street Fighter, you know, animation where the
Yeah, yeah,
AI
yeah,
didn't,
yeah, yeah.
the AI
Exactly.
wasn't working properly. He was just jumping in place, like swinging
Bro,
slow.
you remember the first moments of the fight? Romero just came up and it was just like this, right?
Yeah.
And then Israel Adesanya moved and he was just like moving towards like that, and he wasn't doing shit. But then once Adesanya started to engage, he would just like throw bombs and shit. But fuck Romero, man. Like, I mean, I don't personally like him, but after that fight, I don't like him, man.
Should have been a way, because he was market. It was already, it was there. I don't know what his game plan was. I don't know. I don't know what it was with Izzy. Maybe it was just to frustrate him. But yeah. But yeah, no. I mean, now we have supposedly we have Costa and it is Adesanya coming up. That should be pretty good.
Yes.
What do you got for that? You going with Izzy?
Adesanya all the way. I
No,
think
Costa's
Adesanya's
undefeated
probably
though.
gonna be like Israel's undefeated.
No,
I think
he has one. He has one.
Israel's undefeated, bro.
In the UFC, he may be, but his professional career has won. I think he got kickboxed.
Yeah,
It was
but
one kickboxing thing.
you just gotta count the MMA.
Also, they're both undefeated, so that means at the end of the fight, somebody's gonna lose. Man.
Somebody's O has got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both young fighters too. That's the interesting part. Young, like in their prime, almost on the upswing. And Adesanya is on the cover of freaking a video game.
Yes, and Jorge Masvidal.
All right. So with that note, that's how Naim became a UFC fan. Red Panty Night. Money brings the thing. You gotta be ready, so you don't gotta get ready. Conor McGregor, that good old tattoo. Bitch, by the way, I think his tattoo is the most dope of any UFC fighter I've seen. Like just that big old chest thing.
Gorilla.
Yeah. We'll come back to Conor in a little bit. So with UFC 251, the first iteration of Fight Island, I don't know if it's the last iteration of Fight Island either, but what time did it start for you in the morning? What time do you have to get up for a pay-per-view? Because
9 a.m. is
that's not bad.
Yeah, prelims are like I have it on here right now in Google Chrome. Prelim starts at about 7 a.m., so that's not too bad.
Do you get up for it all? Do you get up for everything, or you just get up for the main card?
Depends. If the prelims are stacked, I might get up for maybe like one or two of the last cards. I mean, matches on the card. But from the main card, I always watch from the first one. Always.
I'd imagine, because I saw your story. You know, whenever fight day, whenever fight night roams around or comes around, I'm always jittery and nervous. I'm kind of like my cousin in that, I'm like, there's like anxiety of like, oh shoot, who's gonna win? Like, oh god. So you go through social media or whatnot, I just see your story as like, oh man, it's like 5 or 6 in the morning. You're up, like, oh, he's really about this, huh? He really wants to watch some fights. I remember. Did you get up early for the whole Cowboy and Pettis prelim fight? I mean, I remember that was a pretty stacked prelim card of all things considered.
That was the Gaethje and Ferguson fight, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I woke up at 5 a.m. just
oh my god.
First fight. First fight was Mitchell Span versus Sam Alvey, if I remember correctly.
Wow. Yep. Man, talk about devotion. You just like you gotta get up, get that bomb ass coffee in your system, and you go for it.
Exactly, man. It's not even like I have to try to. It's just like I do want to watch it. So
yeah,
my body just
it gives you incentive to get some sleep the night before too, or not. I don't know. Like the play. I
always have this like not like a nightmare, but like a bad dream of like missing
it.
Fight.
Yeah.
And I wake up at 3, 4 a.m. and I was like, oh, shit, it's still 3 or 4 a.m. Oh shit, got 5 more hours. I just go back to sleep. But then I wake up at like 7 or 8 a.m. and I was like, shit, 1 more hour. Yeah.
The only experience I have with that is, with the NBA playoffs, when you had League Pass back home, I would just, you'd have to get up to watch it. And then the challenging thing is if you had work, then if you, the great thing about UFC pay-per-views, it's always on the weekend. It's always on the weekend.
Yeah.
Whereas NBA playoffs, it's during school, it's during whatever, and, coaching basketball, it's like, shh, don't say anything about the games, just like now. But, UFC, is there ever a pay-per-view event that happens throughout the week for you?
Not yet, but I think during Fight Island it happened once already, right? Not during Fight Island. During one of the cards during COVID, I think there was like one during like the midweek or something.
I think it might have been Burns and Woodley. I think that was during the week.
Could be.
Poirier and Hooker.
Second best fight of the year. Second best fight of the year.
Oh, what's your first? What's your first?
Weili Zhang.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. You could go Gaethje Ferguson maybe, but Weili Zhang and JJ. That's my favorite. That's my favorite fight.
I totally forgot about Gaethje Ferguson, but I would say Hooker Poirier is the better fight than Gaethje Ferguson. Just Gaethje Ferguson had more value to that fight.
Yeah, a lot of fights. It's happened in COVID. I think has it's like a weird time machine warp where like when it happened, nothing happened, and then the UFC was the first to kind of kickstart things off. Like there was. I don't remember what card. Who was the card the UFC started off with? Like was it Gaethje and Ferguson?
Yeah. No. Kevin Lee versus
Aljamain Sterling. No, totally different class.
Kevin Lee versus.
But it was the UFC that started off COVID-19, right?
Charles Oliveira. Kevin Lee versus Charles Oliveira. Yeah.
So that was the first one, and then the first major one was Ferguson and Gaethje.
Yes.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that cool? The fact that all these other sports leagues are like, I mean, granted they're teams, right? So they have to take care of their assets, but like, the fight that is the sport that is about the hardest thing to do in the world, or like the most combative, violent sport is the first one to break the COVID like ice. So that's pretty cool. In my opinion.
I'm not surprised though, because they use less people.
Dana White also is like the sole proprietor, so he's the one who makes fights. It's like
Dana's a bald fuck White, man. That guy is the GOAT. No doubt.
All right, so that brings us to UFC 251. The first matchup was Paige Vanzant versus Ribas. We both, you had Paige and I had Ribas. I think was the.
I don't actually have Paige. She was just like like a 9-1 underdog or something.
Yeah, she was an underdog. She was a massive underdog.
No, I think it was like 4-1. Yeah, but basically, I bet 200 baht on her. Oh. If I lose, I just lose the 200 baht, right? Mm-hmm. If I win, I earn 1,200 baht. So 200 is the initial investment, and then 1,000 baht is the profit.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't give a shit if I lost 200 baht, right? But if I got 1,000 in profit, I'll be like, damn, underdog player. Yeah.
What happened to Paige, man? Like, cause Paige, do you feel like she's dropped off? Well, she's definitely dropped off, and that was the last fight on her UFC contract as well. So
yeah, I don't think she was. I think it's all the mental, man. I think she has the potential, the capabilities, but I think she's too much into the Instagram world, right?
Uh-oh.
But anyways, I thought we were talking about sports, bro. What is this? No,
I mean, good, cool that you bring that up in typical Naim fashion, because I was about to ask, like, do you think her popularity, unlike someone like Ribas, for example, or do you think her, because she was heralded by many people going into the fight, she was an underdog. We knew that. We knew who Ribas was, but like Paige just has. Do you think her Instagram has something to do with that? Do you think her marketability, quote unquote, has something to do with that? The fact that and she's a pretty gifted fighter too. She's had some good fights. She's had some promising fights. But she wasn't even ranked going in. I don't know how long she hasn't been. Was she ever ranked at a certain point? I don't. This is not a fighter I follow very often, so I don't even know. But in your opinion, like, was she kind of like this UFC kind of brainchild or failed experiment in a certain way?
Yes and no. I think no initially, because I think initially she did have some fighting talent. If you look at some of her finishes, it's actually quite impressive. Mm-hmm. Later on, I think yes. I think this Amanda Ribas, girl, I think she's, dude, Mackenzie Dern, right?
Absolutely. I know who Mackenzie Dern is.
Okay. Anyway. But yeah, she beat Mackenzie Dern, bro. So right off the bat, Amanda Ribas is the shit, right? So I think that's why the UFC tossed Paige Vanzant into this fight, because it's always a win-win situation for the UFC, right? Because, okay, if Paige Vanzant actually won, you would be like, holy fuck, Paige Vanzant is back. She just beat like a top contender, which is like 9-1 in the UFC, blah, blah, blah. So it'll do a lot of good for Paige, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if Amanda Ribas actually won, right? But then Amanda Ribas can, feed off of Paige Vanzant's household name or marketable name, right? So in a way, they're also showcasing their upcoming talent through putting big names onto the card. So I think it's kind of like a win-win situation for the UFC to do this kind of thing. It's kind of like that Uriah Faber versus Peter Yan fight. If Uriah Faber won, he would have been like, holy shit, Uriah Faber just beat Peter Yan. You know what I mean, right? And then Peter Yan, because he won, right? It's like, oh, he just beat a legend. And then he got the title shot, and then he won. So it's kind of like a win-win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whoever wins just comes on top even more. So
that's an interesting way to put it. Wait, so Mackenzie Dern, okay. Record's not bad. I remember Mackenzie Dern. This is a woman who this is a fighter who has trouble making weight per se, because like it's cost her time and time again. But like a funny story with her. Did you know like yeah, I mean, okay, but like did you know like I just think it's funny that she lost about 200 or 20,000 Instagram followers when she said she was married or when she said she had a kid or whatnot. It's just
Mackenzie?
Yeah. Pretty funny. So Ribas wins in like the fairly dominant fashion. So what's next for her?
Shit, I don't know that much about the women's flyweight division though. We can talk about the women's strawweight division though. Namajunas and Andrade.
All right. So that brings us Andrade, return of Thug Rose. Crazy 4 or 5 horse race that is the strawweight division. That's pretty crazy. The fact that you have just like studs. And think about it, man. I don't know what has this ever dawned on you that, man, in a world where we talk about equality and like all these women in other sports or women who watch sports, it's like, oh, we need a little more empowerment. But no one ever talks about the UFC. No one. Like the greatest female athlete on the planet right now, in my opinion, is Amanda Nunes. Look, 100%. And it's crazy that in a sport that is so violent or whatnot, we don't view them that much differently from the men, if at all. We just view them as fighters. Like
true.
Given one or two fighters like a Paige Vanzant or like a Karate Hottie, which they play into their own marketing, so that's like empowerment for them, right? I mean, they drive up that part of their side.
They're just attractive, so we see them as women, you know what I mean?
Bonus points if you can fight, but at the same time, it's like they are UFC contracted fighters. They're UFC fighters. What does that mean if you're in the UFC? That means you are one of however many of the greatest fighters on planet Earth at that weight. So people who weigh 135, you're watching the best like in the world at that weight. It's just it's always puzzled me, the fact that equality. Maybe it's louder in America, politics, and just people, equality is just like, yeah, we need more women in sports. Well, you got women in sports. You're just not looking at them. You're really not looking at them, And someone like, and that brings us to Jessica Andrade. Holy crap, Weili Zhang, JJ, Tatiana Suarez, who could be getting a title shot anytime soon. What'd you make of the fight? Who'd you have going in? We both had Rose, right?
I had Rose. I think it's because how the first fight went down, right? Because Rose was like touching her up, and then there was multiple Kimura attempts from Andrade. And then Rose, I think Rose kind of locked her arm at first, so she couldn't get the takedown or the slam. And then after that, Andrade just slammed her, just knocked the fuck out of her. I think the second fight actually went the way I thought it would. The third round, I didn't expect Rose to get tagged that much. I think Rose definitely lost the third round. So I think if the fight went 5 rounds,
this fight should really honestly be 5 rounds. Like, and the only reason it isn't is because it isn't a title shot. So it's like
exactly, or the main event,
or the main event
for a fight night.
Man, just like, I was looking at that and like, man, we need 3 more rounds of this. Like, this is not enough for me.
That makes me think of Calvin Kattar versus Zabit. Zabit was kind of like winning the first 2 rounds, and then Kattar was like turning it up in the third round, and Zabit looked gassed. So I was like, damn, if it went 5 rounds, Zabit would get his first. Oh, exactly, he's not undefeated, but Zabit would probably like lose in a long time.
That's kind of the beauty of these 3-round fights, though, is that you can. It's like, or the format of the UFC in general with 3-round fights. Like the most recent one I can think of that was amazing was Romero and Costa. You know, just like 3 rounds, pack to pack to pack. So the fighters are bringing it. You're like, wow, it's like a 3-part, kind of more natural 3-part story. You know, like you have the beginning, you have the rising tension, and you have the climax. You know, if the fight goes the distance. You know, with Rose and Andrade, it was kind of like, I almost felt like it was just beginning to happen. Like the real story of the fight was because Andrade was just coming to, you know, because she couldn't get her swing. She couldn't, in my opinion, she doesn't have to reach. It's like a 5-inch reach difference, right, between Rose and Jessica. Jessica landed
that
some
just
heavy.
reminds me of another fight. It was Yair Rodriguez versus Jeremy Stevens. Yair Rodriguez was fucking Stevens up the first 2 rounds, and the 3rd round, Steven was coming back and beating the fuck out of Yair, but it just ended because the first fight it ended with an eye poke in the first round. Yeah.
With this particular fight, I thought it was kind of like you. It went the way I thought it was gonna go. Because Rose, again, she had to reach. She just didn't. The thing is, though, Rose was. Did you feel like Rose was being, very ginger and careful? Like she would land, but almost like the Mayweather effect. She would land and then like not really engage to the full. Whereas Andrade was kind of pulling for the stars.
I think that's just the way they fight. It's just very, natural for Rose to like, because like when she comes, she kind of like aims, and then when she punches, she kind of like moves as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the way she feints, so the level changes. I think it's natural for her to fight that way. And then Andrade just comes in with that, right? And then you see how Whaley, caught her, and then.
So did you feel like the judges scored that correctly? Did you feel like they?
Oh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had Rose winning the first 2 rounds.
Because I think the narrative is, and I texted my cousin about this. He was like, "Yeah, we both kind of agree. Rose landed more. She bought the first 2 rounds pretty much, right? But Jessica definitely did more damage because you could see like the post-fight interview, just like
yes.
It's always that ever-going debate, like who pushes more, who commands the pace more.
It's how they judge it is effective striking and grappling, and then it's I think it's aggression, and then it's octagon control in that order. So that's how they should be judging the fights. But one more interesting thing is that this is how the UFC judges their fight. But in one FC, they don't judge it by rounds. They judge it by the entirety of the fight. But I think that's a bit more subjective. In some ways, it's if we were under one FC rules, I think Andrade might have won that fight because she did more damage. But I don't know, man. I don't know how ONE FC has their criteria for.
I definitely need to watch more of ONE FC. The only fighter I keep up with that is Ong. That's the
Ong Latang or something, right? The double champ.
Yeah, he's a beast. And yeah, I mean, obviously there's a ton of. I mean, Mighty Mouse is over there right now. Is he still there? Johnson.
So.
Yeah. So yeah, so Rose won. So what's next for her? Like eventually, I would imagine it's a title. It's a title shot against Jang.
Could be. Bro, if Jang beats both Rose and Joanna,
which I see happening because Jang just like, I thought Joanna was brilliant against her. The only reason she lost was because the damage. Like Jang did some, but like you felt for both fighters. Just like, man, like get to the hospital, don't fight for the rest of this year. Kind of wow. So whenever they recover, I'm assuming that Rose is going to get that title shot.
I'm guessing so, man. I don't have.
And
I can't think of anyone else.
Andrade would probably get either JJ or Suarez. I think probably Suarez because she's on the upswing. My opinion, but yeah, that's an incredible. And then with the strawweight division, let's see, you got like, it's probably the strongest women's division. Would you agree, or do you think?
Yes. No. At bantamweight, there's no one, right? Because there's Nunes.
Yeah.
And then at flyweight, there's
Shevchenko.
So there's no one there as well. Featherweight, there's no one there as well. and then strawweight is the smallest division. So I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Carla
I guess.
Esparza. You got Angela Hill, who's pretty interesting. Like she,
Angel is pretty damn good. I think she just started fighting within like
yeah. You, I
5
mean,
6.
you listened to that Rogan episode, I'm assuming, right? So
Yeah,
like, you know,
yes.
like her story. That's really interesting. The fact that, yeah, she didn't, which kind of makes me wonder, dude, if we'd have been disinterested in martial arts in high school, man, I don't know if I don't know. Seems like our body types were a lot more geared towards fight, but we just never wanted to go for it. You know,
Yeah.
basketball was always like wow, it's the cooler sport. Well, I
Bro,
kind of
Jay,
regret.
I can actually see you being one of those like wrestlers, bro. I think you're really built for wrestling, man. I can see you one of those guys who like stays like this, and then you probably like swing for like boom, 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 and then once you don't get the hits, you probably like just go for the double leg takedown and slam your opponent. You're like,
Oh yeah.
you're like a fit Daniel Cormier, bro.
Oh gosh, because in college, well, I was more strike. Cause I did some martial arts in school. You know, I started off with Taekwondo, then I did Muay Thai here and there. So you know, my strikes were, they at least had somewhat of a foundation. But like in college, these guys, these big, you know, quote unquote, these big Americans, they wrestle, and like I knew immediately, okay, if I can't wrestle, it's gonna be trouble for me because 90% of fights end up on the ground. You know, and it's just like,
Yeah,
yeah, like I feel like, man, Naim, you know, I'm always in the back of my head thinking I would love to see a Thai NBA player, but I don't think it's kind of highly unlikely, right? But a Thai UFC champion,
that's more possible.
way possible. Did we
Yeah.
already have some fighters in there right now? There's a Thai girl by the name of
What's her,
Look Boon
Ba-
Mi.
what's her name again? Like Loma or something?
Loma Look Boon Mi.
Yeah, yeah,
ไท
yeah.
ยชื่อนี้ก็ไทยโคตรไทยอะ yeah, but you have like, yeah, like, and she's not bad, but I'm waiting, if we're all being honest, we're waiting for that next level.
I don't think she's that good, man.
We're waiting, she's in the UFC, man, there's that, but there is that next level UFC fighter that I'm just waiting for Thailand to capitalize on, you know, just like, and me and my cousin, we think all you would really have to do is take these Muay Thai fighters, like these game bred, freaking intense country bred boys, put them in a little bit of wrestling for a few years, put them in some jujitsu for a few years.
Yeah.
How long do you think? Do you think within the next 10 years we'll see a Thai UFC like contender? I think it's way possible, like 5 years or whatnot.
I think even 5. Because a lot of people they train at I think it's AKA Phuket. You know AKA, right?
AKA, they have a division in Phuket. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
There's
So,
also Tiger in Phuket. Tiger Muay Thai.
or is it Tiger Muay Thai?
Is it the one that Crabtree or Roundtree works out at? Roundtree
That's
worked out
it.
at, and GSP was there for a little bit.
Woodley also worked out in Phuket. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm just waiting for that. Yeah, Thai champion. So you think it'll, or not, or contender? You think it'll happen, right?
Yes.
It's
Within 5
just a matter of time. Yeah. Just hopefully, and at bantamweight, which I think they can do, or starting off at bantamweight, which brings us into our next fight.
Aldo and Jan.
Who did you have going into this?
I had Jan winning logically, but I was rooting for Aldo as the fight started to unfold. I think Aldo looked good. I don't think you can say
He looked great.
Deserved the title shot. Logically speaking, he should not deserve the title shot because he was coming off a loss. And there's Aljamain Sterling, and there's who else is there in the bantamweight division? But anyways, yeah, Aldo shouldn't have gotten the title shot, logically speaking. But you know, talent-wise, definitely there. Jan is just a beast. That was a late-ass stoppage, though. Late-ass stoppage.
Yeah, I was watching that. Me and, we were watching it with our guys. They were screaming, "Stop the fight!" I was screaming, "Stop the fight!" I look at Joe Rogan's fight companion. Him and Joey Diaz were like, "Stop the fucking fight!" Just it was bad.
They actually watched it live as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, Joe, whenever he doesn't do commentary or whatnot, he'll have these like live fight companions, so they'll put like the timer in there.
Bro.
Yeah, so that's something for you to watch.
Next time I actually opened like the actual fight and then Joe's reaction and then just watch.
No, but reason I wouldn't recommend that is one of two things.
It happens for us, right?
It doesn't really, the timing doesn't really sync up. So if you're looking for that fresh, like it's hard. But second of all, if this was a little better because it was him and Joey Diaz and this other guy, which is cool. Like they actually talk about the fight. Whenever it's Brendan Schaub and Eddie Bravo, it's always conspiracy theory stuff. I'm like, okay, I don't want that guys. Just like it's hit or miss for a lot of part. They do react to the fight, but it's like, yeah. So if you wanted to see a live reaction, it's the JRE fight companion. So yeah.
Anyways,
way bad stoppage, but yeah, it went
like this, bro. He was getting his face smashed in.
But he wasn't completely out. He was just, he was covering up, which is usually telltale for a ref to stop it. It was almost kind of like this thing where the ref was, oh no, that's a bad hit. No, keep going. Like it was frustrating to watch.
Yeah.
But Jan, you were talking about Faber earlier. Jan he destroyed him.
Exactly.
In my opinion, Jan reminded Faber to stay retired. Just because, like, don't like I know that's harsh, but come on, dude. Like, it's hard to walk away at that. But at that division, I feel like speed is the first thing that goes. And speed was Uriah Faber's like real trump card. He's a Hall of Famer. I think he's a Hall of Famer. Would you agree? Like he is
a Hall of Famer. Definitely.
Yeah. But man, Peter Yan, I look at a guy like that. I mean, Jose Aldo, he shouldn't have gotten the fight. You could argue Marlon, Cody, all these other fighters should have probably gotten it. But you know why. It's probably because of the draw and then like pay-per-views or whatnot, which is questionable. But the fact that, this is not his usual weight. He's usually featherweight. So like, the fact is he's even able to cut that weight. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Yan. I mean, this is also the title shot only happened really because Cejudo vacated his belt.
Yes.
What do you buy? What do you get from that? By the way, what do you make of the whole Cejudo situation?
He's retired as of now, but I think he's gonna come back within next year.
It's hard to say because the first thing that goes at that age is speed. He's been doing this for 19, 17 years, kind of like Jorge, but a little different. He's a gold medalist. He's an Olympic gold medalist. I halfway buy that he's serious, but at the same time, it's like, well,
I think he's serious temporarily, just not. Yeah.
Because it's so hard to walk away. It's so hard to walk while you're on top.
Yeah.
What did you think of the last fight though? Like, did you think he
Cruz
fair and square? Yeah, against Cruz.
Yeah. I don't think Cruz is getting up, bro. That was a good stoppage, bro. I want to talk about the fucking co-main. I had fucking Holloway that fight.
Everyone had Max. I had I did a story reaction to it. And the winner, and still I'm like, I think it's one of those cases where they gave it to the champion just because he was the champion. I don't know. Well, what do you make of it? What was your take?
I think that's also true, but I think that's true just for some champions. I think that's fucking true for John Jones, right? That's why they gave him the decision versus Reyes and arguably towards Santos. But I think it's because how Volkanovski won the first fight is he won leg kicks, getting the better of the exchanges. So I think the judges having that factored into their minds heading into the second fight, I think they kind of scored the leg kicks and stuff too much for Volkanovski because Max definitely won the first and the second round. Volkanovski won fourth and fifth for sure. I think 3 is a toss-up. Yeah. But I still have Max winning the fight. I think he won more decisively in 1 and 2. I think 4 was. I'm not sure if it was 4 or 5, but I think 4 or 5 it was fucking definitive. Sorry, for Volkanovski. But yeah, I overall had Max winning that fight.
Well, I think the way you're talking about it kind of hints at what everyone's qualm slash confusion is with Holloway. His pacing is really kind of hard to judge, and because he has this kind of lackadaisical, but like at the same time, it's a dangerous lackadaisical where he'll kind of bait the guy to come in because he had to reach again. This is almost kind of like Rose and Andrade where he had to reach, and you had someone like Volk who was swinging every single time, and you have to imagine that those swings are, you know, fatiguing the other party, you know. But with Max this time, I thought he looked a lot fresher than he did last time. Like he looked way fresh in my opinion.
The last fight he looked.
He lost that last fight. I would have said he lost it. Clearly lost.
He did. Yeah. But he definitely won this. I wouldn't like to say definitely won because
it's that one toss-up round, right?
So I think Volkanovski won more definitively than Max Holloway won this fight. I think you could say that. You couldn't say that Max Holloway won the first fight. You cannot say that. You can say that Volkanovski could have won this fight. I could see why people could give it 3-2. I don't agree with it though, but I could see how people could give it 3-2 to Volkanovski. But I couldn't see people giving Max the first fight at all.
It was a split. I mean, split decisions are always kind of, no pun intended, but they split the community. It's just like, all right. But at least it was split. If it was a unanimous decision, like, you know. So what's next for someone like Max? What's next? Like
It sucks because it's not a big draw. It's not like you have Diaz versus McGregor 3. That would sell anyway. But like Holloway versus, but I think Volkanovski versus Holloway 3 could definitely sell. But again, Volkanovski and Holloway is not McGregor and Diaz, and I don't think it's fair to put Volkanovski's, you know, next title defense against Max. It's just like he has to fight other people as well. I think the winner of Ortega versus Korean Zombie should fight for the belt.
Yeah, I mean, you also got Zabit.
Exactly. Let's pull the UFC featherweight rankings real quick.
Yeah, you got Calvin Kattar, Rodriguez, Stevens. Yeah, I think you're right. You're probably right there. Whoever wins that next should probably challenge Volk for the title.
Rodriguez. Frankie Edgar is just a legend, but he kind of sucks now.
Interesting. Yeah, it kind of a first kind of Debbie Downer of the night was the fact that, you know, Max, like, this is a guy who I don't know. I get this vibe from him that he's somewhat contemplating retirement, you know, because it's kind of like, you know.
Yeah, that's true though. I get the vibe though.
If you've seen him betted or you've seen like interviews with him, he's just like, and again, this guy took defeat so well. You remember he lost last time, and then 2 days later he was on Rogan, just like chilling, just like it didn't even affect him. Like,
I don't think he's the same anymore right now. I think he's gonna come back more motivated though, because I really think he won the first fight. I mean, won
the
that
second fight. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, at least, you know, there's still somewhat of a storyline there. But speaking of storylines, let's get to it. The main event.
Ooh.
Yeah, this was a fight that, you know, for those who are still listening, thank you, by the way. But yeah, this was a fight we didn't know was happening a week and a half ago.
Marty Fake Newsman and Street Judas.
Yes. Yeah, this was a fight we didn't anticipate. It was kind of in the back burner. It was a fight that should have been happening all this time. First of all, I mean, going into the event, what did you make of the whole Masvidal situation?
It's raining as fuck right now. I just had my headphones in. I couldn't even see the rain outside, but it's raining like a motherfucker right now.
I missed that. That a
lot. What's that main event? Masvidal Usman. Yeah, I think that's the fight everyone wanted to see, but didn't get to see. But and I know I'm an asshole for saying this, but thank God for the corona, man. I'm sorry, bro. I mean,
you're not the only one I've heard make that joke. I've heard everyone, like every commentator or like, even his wife is part thinking, thank God for Masvidal.
Yeah.
No, but here's my weird spin on the event. I thought it was too quick a turnaround for Burns to go fight Kamaru because he had just it was 2 months ago or a month and a half ago that he beat up Woodley.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it was, hey, it might have been too quick a turnaround, but then you get someone like Masvidal, it's like 6 days. Like, really? You think that's gonna be, you know, because Masvidal, you know what you're getting, but even someone like Masvidal, as we know now, it's like you have to overcome so many hurdles to just even start to train for someone like a Kamaru Usman, you know. So, but the question I was asking you earlier, Naim, was about the Masvidal and Dana White situation, the whole UFC thing. What did you make of that? Did you think it was gonna end badly, or did you think like eventually something was gonna happen?
What do you
Like
mean
something.
between Usman and Dana?
No. Between Masvidal and the UFC, because Masvidal, if you remember, Masvidal had that whole like spiel where he wanted.
Yeah.
He was challenging. He was challenging the norm almost a little bit.
Yeah. I think the UFC gave him more pay-per-view revenue share, and then I mean I think I don't know, man. It's hard to say, to be honest. I mean, we never know what's going on in the negotiations, right? We don't know the exact amount or what kind of percentage they're getting, but
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Vanzant's a big ass name, so I don't know, man. I'm pretty happy they got the fight done, and we gotta see what we gotta see.
Yeah. With Jorge though, did you ever? I know. In high school or middle school, did you ever watch those backyard fights with Kimbo Slice? Like,
No.
because I remember in high school watching a bunch of them. Just like Kimbo was a pretty big name at the time. So
Yeah, I knew who Kimbo Slice was, but I've never watched. I mean, I've actually watched his street fights though, but not Jorge.
it's just so characteristic of Jorge. Like, I mean, the mythic story behind the street fight was the first one, at least, was he was eating a cheeseburger and Kimbo was like, "Hey, do you want to fight this guy?" And Masvidal was like, "Yes." And he proceeds to beat the shit out of him on the street. Just like, if you were surprised by this, like, you clearly don't know who Masvidal is. He just does stuff like this, you know. So the fight happens. Gilbert Burns tests positive for coronavirus, which I think, by the way, would have been a much, given his physique, I think he might have actually, because one, they were already training for each other, you know. So Usman was training for a completely different fighter. You could say the same for both. I don't think there's any built-in excuses. It's just a circumstance. It's a good thing that Jorge took it. But man, how did the event go for you? Like, did it go the way it thought it was gonna go?
Yes. Logically speaking, I knew Usman was probably gonna wrestle, outmuscle, ground and pound, just grind him up against the fence.
Mm-hmm.
But like at the back of my mind, I was just hoping that Masvidal just would catch him with some kind of uppercut, or I think Masvidal was actually how they do the heel kicks like this, yo bro, how they kick like just boom, like straight up like that. Like boom, like how Anderson Silva knocked out Vitor Belfort, if I'm not mistaken, with that boom, just kick, right?
Yeah.
And I think Masvidal.
You thought that was gonna happen?
Yeah, I think Masvidal was trying to hit Usman with one of those.
With a flurry, he was trying to catch him with his, I don't want to say usual flurry, but Masvidal, it's pretty obvious, right? If you had to pin down the strengths of these two fighters, it's grappling clearly goes to Usman, and then striking clearly goes to Masvidal. But the problem is, like, you can make a kind of sub argument that Masvidal just, I don't think he had enough time to train for the wrestling aspect. But the crazy thing was, it kind of reminded me of the Khabib and Conor fight. The only difference is Jorge defended the takedowns very well. Very well.
Yeah, but I don't think Usman is as good as Khabib as taking down people. But I think he's better at standing in the clinch and doing damage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people can joke about the foot stomps all they want, but I think those probably hurt as fuck though. Probably annoying as fuck.
Oh yeah, they hurt us. You always thought Masvidal was gonna do something like that. As that was happening, we were screaming at the screen like, "Hey, like, are you gonna like?" So in your opinion, do you think Masvidal looked gassed? Was he like fatigued? Or what was going on?
I think he was gassed, but I think if he was not gassed, I don't think anything would have changed. I don't think it was an opinion. I don't think it was a choice of his to be in the clinch against Usman and getting those body shots. I don't think it was a choice. I think it was.
It was just him getting dominated. It was just him getting like, him like his game plan. Even gave him credit for like, he fought a really beautiful fight. And so it's. I don't know if you watched it with anybody, but I watch it with guys who have only really been watching the UFC because of me in the past year, so they're not used to really seeing like wrestling like dominant like that, or beautiful wrestling or grappling or whatnot. But like, that's how like, if you know your strengths, you're not gonna outstrike Masvidal. You're not gonna fight him in his game. You have to cut his distance. Which even credits to Masvidal. Again, he defended these takedowns great, really well. But the fact that he was just Usman, he is probably the more physical specimen, right? He'll pin you up against the freaking wall and just like maul you.
Besides Romero, I can't think of anyone who's like a freak athlete more than Usman.
Costa?
I would say, oh shit! Oh my god, that's it as well, bro. Costa as well.
Yeah, from freak athletes. I see what you mean though.
Costa is more like he's kind of like more athletic but dumb. I don't know how to say. But for Usman, you feel like he's more athletic, buff. I don't know how you
smart.
say it. And smart.
Yeah. Well, Usman, wow. Just because you could see that coming in. Like if Usman is going to win, it is going to be either submission, which is why it's the Covington fight now is even more amazing to me. Like looking back, because Covington, I mean, they're both phenomenal wrestlers, right? Yes. Maybe Usman a little more than Covington, but the fact that Usman wasn't willing to play that game with it's just interesting to me to see the difference in approach. Like this is why the UFC is cool, is because there's so many different ways to win, like decision or like it wasn't even a decision. Everyone knew by watching who won, and still like it's just like different outcomes for different circumstances, and then the circumstances always change, right? And then there's just some times where like this is quite like a throwback. Mirko Krokop? No.
Okay,
the name doesn't ring a bell.
But basically, it's this guy who was known for head kicks. He used to knock his opponents by kicking them like boom right in the head, right? And then there was this guy who was, I guess, kind of like wrestling base. He actually knocked that Mirko Krokop guy with a head kick, so it was kind of like he used his own strength against him. Kind of like when Nunes head kicked Holly Holm and knocked her out.
Yeah.
Because Holly Holm is known for head kicks, and then Nunes used her strength against her. But I think for Nunes it's different because she's already good at striking. So
you could probably make a pretty good ESPN 30 for 30 or UFC embedded episode of like the top head kicks, top 10 most influential head kicks in UFC or MMA history. The number one probably being,
for me personally, it would be Ronda Rousey versus
and Holly Holm. Yeah.
I think that's probably the most iconic female fight of all time, because going in,
Rousey just had so much fire.
Exactly, and I think she was like a big favorite. Holly Holm was, I want to say she's unknown, but relatively kind of like, because you're fighting Ronda Rousey, it's like you're fighting Conor McGregor. People are going to focus on Conor McGregor. Holly just went in and just shocked the world. So I think that put a big, exclamation point not only on the UFC, but just the whole MMA world in general.
Yeah, that'd have been my answer too. But bunch of, Jorge and Askren. Do you even remember who was fighting? Do you even remember who the main card was that night?
I think it
was Jones. Yeah. But see, like John Jones within the same card, you don't remember it. It's because like Jorge, Okay, but what's next for someone like Kamaru? What's next?
Ooh,
I feel like Burns has to get that title shot because he got it before.
Yeah, I think Burns probably get the title shot.
Covington and
who the fuck is that welterweight again? Covington, but Covington just won. Just lost.
No, but the thing is, I feel like if it wasn't Burns, I feel like honestly, I would not have been opposed to seeing Covington get this fight. Leon Edwards, or
Tyron
Jorge.
Wood sucks
Yeah.
now, man. Oh my God.
Or Jorge might go for that big money and just fight Conor McGregor. Screw it.
Nah, I don't think.
You don't think Dana's gonna bite?
Yeah.
I don't know though. If he's talking about money, that's money right there.
I'm looking at the oh, this is not the official UFC website though. What is this? ladbrokes.com.au. I'm looking at the men's UFC weight divisions and ranking pound for pound rankings, and Conor McGregor is at number 8.
In what?
Fuck? Pound for pound rankings.
Pound for pound top rank. Yes, Conor McGregor is pound for pound still number 8.
You have it on the UFC website?
I'm on the actual website. Yeah.
That's a bit fucked up though.
Not really. Because you look at everyone below him. Well, first of all, yes, it is a little screwed because Ngannou is definitely better pound for pound. Gaethje, Ferguson is definitely better pound for pound. But I'm not giving Dominic Reyes, Robert Whittaker, Poirier, not yet. McGregor. Yeah.
Well,
but everyone else, yeah, sure. And I don't know what men's pound for pound. Because the greatest pound for pound is probably between either Nunes or Jones at this point.
Yeah. What is Nunes? Oh, this is men's. Oh shit, sorry, bro.
Yeah. Oh, you're good.
I was like, where the fuck is Nunes? But anyways, welterweight. Kamaru's a champion. Burns is I think
if you were Dana, who you making for Kamaru's next? Is it Burns?
Probably Burns, and then I'll have Colby fight Masvidal.
Not a bad fight. I feel like it could go either way. You probably it wouldn't be that unfeasible for Covington to get a rematch, right? Because that fight was excellent. It was excellent. Man.
Wouldn't you want to see Masvidal versus Colby versus Colby instead of Colby versus Usman? Wouldn't you want to see Masvidal versus Colby instead of Colby versus Usman?
You know, given their backstory, sure, because they train together and there's that backstory too. But I'm just is my answer. But I wouldn't be surprised if Covington got that rematch just because of like round 2 of the event and just how it ended. Covington being the character that he's a sell. But yeah, definitely. Covington. I think Covington and Masvidal would sell probably more. Funny enough, than Usman, because Usman's just he's the most unsellable champion for a lot of people. Unfortunately, I mean outside of people like you and me and fight fans, it's just like, I mean, yeah, but yeah, I'd want to see that for sure.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, that's that was UFC 251. All things considered, pretty good event. What's up?
No, I was just saying detailed breakdown.
As detailed as 2 fight fans are gonna get that don't have a whole lot going on. So what's next? Like the next big docket fight, I'm assuming, is probably Cormier and.
Yeah, let me see real quick.
There's Robert Whittaker.
Ige,
Till.
That's so important.
Yeah, I think Stipe and Cormier is like the next big one.
Till and Whittaker is good. Holm versus Aldana. I don't know who the fuck Aldana is. Yeah. But I think Junior Dos Santos and Jairzinho Rosenstrike, is that really the co-main?
Yep.
It has to be better than that, right?
Name ain't feeling it. It's a heavyweight co-main. Name ain't feeling it. I feel like the best of there, it's Sean O'Malley and Marlon Vera. That's a pretty good fight. Yeah.
Well, this one is also underrated. This Magomed guy versus Ion Kutalaba or something. Yeah, versus this Ion Kutalaba guy. So last fight, this Ion Kutalaba guy, he was fighting this Magomed guy, and he actually acted like he got rocked, but then the referee took his acting of getting rocked as a sign of him actually getting rocked. They stopped the fight early.
Oh no!
Did you watch that fight?
No. I think I missed it. Did
you recall it though? No.
No, I probably gotta do my research on it again. It's light heavyweight. Okay, I'll go back and watch it. This is a rematch, right?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. So there's a storyline there. See, that's UFC, man. I guess as a closing subject, kind of to wrap things up, like the thing I love about UFC as well is like storylines.
They give a reason for you to care and to tune in.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's also partial marketing, but like in your opinion, what makes it different from, because we were very traditionally basketball and like whatever traditional mainstream sport. I feel like it takes a little bit of getting used to for the UFC, like it does for any sport, but more so for the UFC, right? But like, how would you? Because I bet you do all the time. How do you sell? How do you like? Because you want to get friends over to watch the fight. I mean, that's the ultimate game. You got your normal friends, but then like to the outsider who's looking for something else, like how do you sell this to someone who isn't familiar with it? Like, what is your selling point of watching MMA?
I just open like good fights for them to watch, man. I just talk about it, and yeah, that's it, bro. That's how I got Poom involved into it as well initially, and then you remember Joe?
Yeah.
2 years younger than us.
Yes.
He's also fucking into MMA as well. So that's also a plus. And then I just gradually got other people involved just by talking about it, showing them like clips of good fights, or shit like the Masvidal knockout, the McGregor 13 KO knockout, 13-second knockout. But anyways, yeah, that's the type of things I just show them. You gotta show them the casual stuff first for them to get in, right?
Yeah, because you can't show them you can't show them hardcore wrestling right away. It's just not gonna work. Yeah. Which is why Jorge versus Usman was such a toss up. Because if you're sure, by all intents and purposes, going into the event, that's like, oh man, this is the first live UFC fight. It should be pretty good, right? To the non-trained eye, might not have been as great. Do you think so was it because of the UFC or just by osmosis, you being in Thailand, did you wanted to take up Muay Thai?
Partially, but I think that's both. I think I got into like fighting because of like UFC. Not fighting, but like I just got into like I just wanted to do some combat stuff, whether it's boxing, jiu-jitsu, whatever. I tried jiu-jitsu once. I didn't like it that much. I almost vomited after like one session. It was too tiring. But I'd rather just punch some bags, kick some pads.
You almost vomited. Wow, this is a gym I have to know about. Then, if I go home, I gotta get this.
My advice for jiu-jitsu is don't go all in. Just it's kind of like
you gotta learn.
You have to move. Then you have to like sprint. Not sprint, but like you just have to use your energy and burst at the right moments. You can't just like go all out. I was like trying to go all out all the time, and then after like 5 minutes, I was just like gonna vomit, bro.
Yeah. No. It's almost kind of like wrestling, but with way different strategies. I agree. Like, I learned a lot of wrestling in college, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you feel like taking Muay Thai or learning it has helped you appreciate and like know what you're seeing a lot more, in your opinion?
I mean, I appreciate it a lot because it's kind of like our nation's
downtime. Right? Yeah, that's the other.
Yeah, that's fucking Muay Thai, bro. People talk about like it's actually Muay Thai. Like Muay is Muay. No, I mean, it's like fuck, man. That's like our language.
How do you feel about our country not really like putting it at the forefront? Why is it always soccer? Why is it always something we're not good at? Like that they want to. Like, in your opinion, because you understand it from marketing's perspective and a cultural perspective, just the fact that our country's main export is this one sport that we're really good at, by the way, but it just seems to never really get that big, like, because you won't see giant posters of Wakao, you won't see giant posters of Sanchai, but you will see like, I don't know, Messi right down in Siam, just like, okay, that's cool. I know he's an international star, but do you think why do you think it's not as heavily sponsored? You think?
I think it's different scales as well, but I think because Muay Thai in itself has not been promoted to the level it should be. I'm not sure if that's a lack of our country's lack of skill of promoting fights, but I think one championship is definitely changing that. I mean, if you want me to name the highest organization for Muay Thai. I can't even do it for you right now. I don't even know. Probably like, I don't know, Lumpini boxing or some shit. I don't know, but I don't. I mean,
Yeah,
the
see,
fact
that's
that
crazy. That's
the fact
crazy.
that I
You.
can't even name the
Mm-hmm.
highest promotion or organization in my country's, you know, combat sport. It's just, yeah, man.
Do you also feel like it's a traditional thing? Oh, this is traditional. We want to keep it traditional. It's kind of like how monster truck driving is here. Like they, it's like this little pocket thing. This is ours. If outsiders like it, sure, but get your shit out of here. This is ours. Do you feel like it's that as well, or do you really feel like it's just like, yeah, lack of awareness?
I think it's more like lack of awareness. I could be wrong, but I think it's not lack of awareness. I think people are aware, but we just have to make them give a shit more, And
Yeah.
I think One Championship is definitely doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Because we usually wouldn't say. I mean, usually when we watch the Muay Thai fights, it's kind of like, and it's on some fucking like ช่อง 3, ช่อง 5, ช่อง
Yeah,
7
but
or like
that's
whatever.
cool though, and that's what makes the country. Like that is
Cool, but
it quintessentially Thai. Yeah,
exactly, and I'm fucking proud of that. But if we were just talking strictly
from a
based on the
viewership.
fact exactly of how it would
Yeah,
get more eyeballs, you got to make it more mass, man. You just can't have like, okay, มือไหว้ได้ but like just make it more mass, more commercial,
yeah.
more attractive to the
I mean,
to the normal.
K1 definitely does a lot of that as well. Like
Yes,
K1 is
definitely.
definitely pushing it to the forefront. It's just it'll probably be a slow growth, but it's just always weird to think that the country that is responsible for it has
Yep.
such a weird enigmatic way of of marketing a sport that should otherwise be at the very forefront. Where something like soccer, something we're not good at, but we spend so much money on fostering and like. Now, no offense to Breedy, like honestly, that the work that they're doing is pretty good. Like eventually, I would think that work would pay off. But just with what you already have, I would think
Yeah.
the train of thought would be let's highlight what we have here. So what has to change? One final question for you. I know it's getting late. Marketing wise, what has to change in your opinion? Besides, you've already mentioned that they've got to make it a little more commercial. But like, what about the culture has to change, if anything, for this to become basically for us to get a Thai UFC champion? What do we have to do to start pushing in that direction? Do you think MMA is growing back home?
MMA is definitely growing. I think for Thai fighters, probably the best way. I don't think I hate to say this, but I don't think Muay Thai would get you as far as MMA or just boxing in general. Boxing in general, it's probably dying as a sport, I guess you could say, but MMA is
It's still
definitely.
useful.
Yeah. But it's
Yeah.
it's hard, man. Like I don't see. I can't even name the highest promotion in Muay Thai right now. So right off the bat, you could just know that we're not putting it correctly. But I guess you have to make it more mainstream, and you have to have people who build storylines for the Muay Thai fighters. Because in the UFC, if you know the UFC, when they did this deal with ESPN, they gave like the broadcast rights, stuff like that, right? But the one
Yeah.
thing that they didn't give up was the production, the way they did the marketing materials and
Very
stuff.
smart. Very smart.
Exactly. This is one of the things that Dana has mentioned in his interviews, is that they don't want to change the way they promote the fighters, to promote the fights, or how they build up
The smart
the
thing too.
storyline.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we should have some kind of storylines for the Muay Thai fighters as well. So that's what's gonna bring in viewers, like if you know the backstory and stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's been the UFC and MMA talk with one of the more devoted fans that I know. Naim, do you have any last comments, closing thoughts, anything you want to plug? This is your chance.
Not that much. Just I don't know who's listening. Shout out to the class of 2013.
Oh boy.
Miss you guys, love you guys. Hope we can have some reunion soon. Shout out to my boy James. Get a poll as well. Jacob's Jookies. Shout out to Anj for that joke.
Some things will never change.
I hope you're doing well. And when are you coming back to Thailand, bro? If you're coming back.
When you say coming back, do you mean just for a nice little measly visit, or do you mean like moving back?
What's your plans?
I really couldn't say with COVID. It puts a damper on a lot of our plans. You know, plans to even. It's hard to even move across state right now, like if you wanted to. You know, but Thailand. What's up?
Do you actually want to come back and work here though, or?
If the opportunity was good enough, if it was, you know, I would consider any career, obviously, but you know, me even doing this podcast right now, it's like I'm trying to build rapport as a sports reporter. You know, later this year, there's I've gotten into contact with several sports SIDs, sports directors for different schools. Just hey, like when and if this opens up again, do I have permission to cover your students? You know, just like formulating that relationship, keep fostering it, writing for local papers, which I'm close to doing, and then like keep applying, you know, because if you're trying to get your career started off, it's you know, in a field that you want, nothing good ever comes easy. So it's like I've been applying to be a digital editor at this firm, this place, that place, just like building credentials, and it's hard to do that if I were to go home, because then what would have to happen? I'd have to start studying. One, I'd put my ass in Thai class, just like relearn this language that I have in the back of my brain, but it's just, yeah, it would require a lot. But would I do it? Yeah, if the opportunity was right. There's one, like ICS just opened up in Udon, right? And one of my friends mentioned that they were looking for an audio and video guy. I'm like, huh, interesting. I would move to Udon. I honestly would. That's a great, like, cheap, you know, standard of living, cheap, good good school, good system that you'd be working for. That'd be something I would consider, because I have studio experience. I worked in a studio for about a year and a half. So it's like, okay, so I have professional experience here, but just, yeah, dude. Like whenever people ask, "Oh, I don't know what to tell them." It's like if someone were to come and ask you in Canada, "Hey, Nan, when are you gonna come back?" It's like, well, man, if the opportunity was right and the stars aligned, it's like you would go for it, wouldn't you? But like you gotta build what's around you. You gotta build, you know. And yeah, I could say a lot about that. But yeah, that's me, man, and just this podcast.
My last I guess closing words and closing advice to you would actually be just, you know, just keep being aggressive in terms of like, you know, asking for opportunities and asking for, you know, chances to prove yourself. And yeah, man, just have confidence in yourself and just go for it. Like just keep being aggressive, you know, aggressive in terms of like, because when I was doing sales, I had to do like cold calls, right? Yes. And I just knew that, you know, business just started from just picking up the phone and actually just calling companies and just being aggressive and being, you know, not aggressive in the sense of like, you know, but yeah, just keep on doing what you're doing. Just have confidence in yourself, man.
Appreciate it, man. That's been the Crunchy Take with special guest Naim for joining us. Thank you, bro. Thank you for doing this.
No worries, man.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
See you, boy.